viewers, as you well aware that I am Dr. Jetting Yellosa, running a YouTube channel called Law Speeches in English, Hindi and Telugu languages. You are well aware that I am posting my lectures on the various facets of law and also the world affairs. So today we discuss American court system. You know, America is considered as one of the largest democratic country in the world and also a federal country where center and the states have structured their powers in between them in clear cut manner. So the judiciary also is one of the main organ of the state. Here in America, the courts have a separate and independent body. They, as that of in India, we have the Supreme Court and the High Courts, where the Supreme Court is the court of the land, that is apex court. In every state we have the different high courts are there, under which the subordinate courts like the district courts, senior civil judges, junior civil judges, and all the subordinate courts function. Here also in the United States of America, we have the clear-cut demarcation is there. At the federal level, we have the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the highest court of the land in America is concerned, and there the final appellate and primary hearings with regard to Constitution of the United States of America and disputes between the states and disputes between the one citizen to other citizen has been filed. It is a final appellate authority with regard to federal statutes are concerned. So we can understand that the matters pertaining to the US Constitution and federal laws will be filed in the US Supreme Court. And at the lower level, at the state level, we have the state courts are there. The state courts are also been classified into broadly 3 categories. We go later on to that specific category, but as you know, in the United States of America, there are 50 states are there, and each state has its own civil and criminal laws. And they separate ordinances also been there. Out of the 50 courts, they have no system is identical to other system. Means one state has a one kind of a system and other state having the other kind of the system. So there is a variation of the state laws in all the states. We could not find the identification of the systems are concerned. As I told you earlier, there are 3 kinds of courts were there in the state level in United States of America. The first one is be considered as the court of limited jurisdiction, that will be called as a trial courts. So in these trial courts, specifically these courts handles the cases pertaining to the traffic violations, small cl- classes of cases, and juvenile and family law cases. Basically, these court of limited jurisdiction will entertain. And the second type of the state courts are concerned, they be called as a court of general jurisdiction. So these courts often also be called as the circuit courts, district courts, or the state supreme courts. So in these courts, the matters pertaining to the major civil lawsuits and the serious criminal offences will be triable. So we can say it is a secondary sort of courts as that of Indian courts are concerned. In the third category of courts are concerned, this is the intermediate appellate courts, where these be, as a name itself indicates, it is appellate jurisdiction, and there they hear the cases only, they entertain only the arguments, and there is no trial will be conducted here, only appeals will be there, and no new evidence will be taken in these courts. And these courts, intermediate appellate courts, they review the decisions of the trial courts and determine the law applied correctly or not. That is the powers of the intermediate appellate courts. Whereas the third category of states courts are concerned in America, that is a court of last resort, or we can say it is a state supreme courts. So every state has its own supreme court. Not I am talking about the national supreme courts. The national supreme court sits in Washington DC, which is having the 9 judges and which deals with the matters of the national importance, the US Constitution, interpretation of the US Constitution, and disputes between citizens of various states. But here, the state supreme courts won't do it. They only supreme to their state. Usually, this Supreme Court also be called as the Court of Appeal in the New York State and Maryland State. And these are the highest authority to decide the state level and interpret the state laws. So they have no power to interpret the federal laws or national laws. Only they have to interpret the state laws. The domain is within the state laws, that we have to know. Then if the matters pertains to US Constitution or federal law, then the decision is made appealable to the US Supreme Court. Suppose the Court of Last Resort or Supreme Court hears the US Constitution matter or federal law matter, sometimes it can do, but final authority lies upon the Supreme Court, so we can appeal to the Supreme Court of the US is concerned. So that is whatever Supreme Court of US says, that binds upon the the in these matters. Then, if you so these are the three kinds of states court system is there in the in the United States of America is concerned. The first, as I told you, it is a court of limited jurisdiction. The second is a court of general jurisdiction, and third is the intermediate appellate courts. Then we have the court of last resort. That is the important courts which are there under the US state laws are concerned. Then generally state courts hear the matters pertaining to the state and local laws, as which I told you now. Then the disputes of the citizens. A dispute is there between the citizen of the same state, that has to be goes to the state courts, not to the US Supreme Court. Then all the criminal cases will be dealt by the state courts, and all the family matters like the divorce, child custody, adoption, all these matters will goes to the state courts only. Then probate, wills, estates matters also will be tackled by the state courts only. So if there is a contract disputes are there, or personal injury claims are there, that also been to be tackled by the state courts only. So as that of India, here also the system is uh, categorized into national system and state system. In the as per the US Indian Constitution also we have the Supreme Court and also the High Courts. But here the Federal Court is the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has empowered to deal entertain the matters with regard to US Constitution and also the disputes between the citizens of the various states. Whereas in state level we have the state courts are there. There the state courts have, just I told you, have been classified into three categories. Number one is court of limited jurisdiction. Number two is court of general jurisdiction. Number third is intermediate appellate courts, and finally we have the court of last resort. So that also be called as Supreme Court in that particular state is concerned. So the court system, briefly I am summarizing here the American court system, and I am not dealing in details of the system, and peripherally I dealt this subject, and in my future lectures I will try to go into details of it. And finally I request all of you to subscribe to my channel, and by watching my videos, if these videos are knowledgeable, then make a communicate in your communities. And the channel is meant for the transformation of the knowledge for betterment of the societies. Thank you for patiently hearing my lecture. Thank you.